I'm about to expose the 10 black Hollywood icons that Hollywood didn't just ignore. They completely erased from history. They stripped away Oscars, burned contracts, silenced legends, and rewrote the narrative as if they never existed. And if you stick around, I guarantee you'll witness the most jaw-dropping cover-up at number 7 that even your history books tried to hide. Hit that subscribe button right now. If you want the real story, they don't want you to see this. Welcome to The Honest American, where I don't just tell stories, I try restore the legacies we lost due to some dark agendas behind them. I'm your host, John, one of many voices out here fighting to make sure our black legends are never forgotten again. For the next few minutes, I want you to feel this deep, because behind every name I drop today is pain, pride, and power. Hollywood tried to bury, so grab your seat and open your heart, because what you're about to hear ain't just history, it's truth. Let's dive in. Now let's start where the pain cuts deep, with a queen whose beauty, talent, and soul lit up the screen. And yet, Hollywood made sure her light dimmed too soon. Dorothy Dandridge, the Oscar nominee they let fade away. Dorothy Dandridge wasn't just an actress, she was a revolution. First black woman ever nominated for Best Actress. That should have been the start of something historic, but instead, after Carmen Jones, the phone stopped ringing.
You're hard to get a go for you, and if I do, then you are through, boy.
Studios ghosted her. Agents vanished like shadows. They said America wasn't ready for a black leading lady, and just like that, the woman who broke barriers was boxed into bit parts and heartbreak. At just 42, she died alone in a hotel room, and Hollywood barely blinked. But we remember, and we say her name every damn time we talk about true greatness. The story of second actor on the list is more painful than this one. Paul Robeson, the voice that shook empires, then got silenced. Before there was Denzel, before there was Sidney, there was Paul Robeson, actor, singer, activist.
Sometimes I feel like a motherless child.
A man whose voice didn't just fill theaters, it shook governments. He was the first black actor to play Othello on Broadway. Not as a sidekick, not as comic relief, but as the lead, commanding, brilliant, unapologetically black. But Robeson dared to speak truth about racism, about colonialism, about America's hypocrisy. So they branded him a threat. They blacklisted him. They took his passport. They tried to erase him, not just from movies, but from history. He lost roles, stages, his voice nearly silenced. But his legacy still echoes loud. Paul Robeson wasn't just erased. He was targeted. But we're bringing him back. Name first, voice louder than ever. And just when you thought it couldn't get more heartbreaking, here comes a woman whose voice could melt steel and whose presence could silence a room. But even she wasn't untouchable. Lena Horne, the star who spoke out. Lena Horne was elegance, power, and pride rolled into one. She wasn't just a singer, she was a force. She lit up the screen in a time where black women were barely even allowed to shine. But Lena, she demanded that spotlight. But the moment she spoke up for civil rights, Hollywood punished her. Studio execs started cutting her out of movies, literally. They'd shoot her musical numbers in isolation, just so Southern theaters could snip her scenes clean. Imagine being so talented they had to include you, but so feared they made you disappear. Lena never backed down. She stood beside Dr. King. She spoke truth when it was dangerous. And Hollywood. They tried to erase her from the narrative, but she still found a way to etch her name in the history books. Lena Horne fought to break the stereotype. But the next man on our list, he was the stereotype, and it made him a millionaire. But at what cost? Stepin Fetchit, the man who got rich playing a fool. Stepin Fetchit, born Lincoln Perry, was the first black actor to become a millionaire in Hollywood. But his legacy? It's one of the most painful and controversial stories in black entertainment history. Hollywood loved him, not because he was funny, but because he played the lazy, dumb black man that white audiences wanted to see. He became the poster boy for everything America thought a black man was. And while he cashed the checks, the rest of the black community paid the price. Other black actors hated what he stood for. Civil rights leaders called him a traitor. But here's the deeper truth. Stepin Fetchit was playing a role in a system that gave him no real options. He once said, "If I didn't do it, someone else would." And maybe he wasn't wrong. In the end, the same system that made him a millionaire turned its back on him. And while he made history, he also became a warning. Stepin Fetchit played by the rules of a broken system. But this next duo, they rewrote the rules. Together they stood for love, resistance, and truth. Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis, Hollywood's power couple who fought with love. Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis weren't just actors. They were warriors, a husband and wife powerhouse who used their voices, their art, and their very existence to challenge the lies Hollywood told about black people. In an era when most black actors were fighting just to be seen, Ruby and Ossie refused to be silenced. They acted in films, yes, but they also marched with Martin Luther King Jr. They eulogized Malcolm X. They weren't just performers. They were activists, truth-tellers, revolutionaries. Ruby Dee was nominated for an Oscar at a time when Hollywood still didn't know what to do with a strong, complex black woman. Ossie Davis directed and acted in films that reclaimed black power, long before it was trendy. And together they created a legacy of love and resistance that no Hollywood studio could ever erase. Hollywood didn't know how to handle a couple that loved each other and loved their people. So for years their work was sidelined. But history remembers them as giants. Ruby and Ossie fought for justice with grace. But this next man fought with his lens. Gordon Parks, the director who told the truth, but was shunned for it. Gordon Parks didn't just direct films, he reshaped history. He was the first black director to sign with a major Hollywood studio, a true pioneer. His work behind the camera was as revolutionary as his activism in front of it. With films like The Learning Tree and Shaft, Parks didn't just entertain. He told stories that America was too afraid to face. But his success wasn't enough. In a time when black storytellers were being silenced, Hollywood couldn't handle Parks' vision. The industry wasn't ready for a black director who didn't bow to their system. He was denied the budgets, the studio backing, and the recognition he deserved. It wasn't just racism, it was a rejection of truth. Parks captured the struggles of black America in ways no one else dared to. But Hollywood shut the door on him because the truth he showed was far too uncomfortable for them to accept. Gordon Parks was silenced for showing us the truth. But this next legend, he was erased for being too perfect. Bill Cosby, the fastest erasure ever. Bill Cosby was a household name. He was more than a comedian. He was a cultural icon, the father we all wished we had. From The Cosby Show to stand-up comedy, Cosby brought joy to millions of families across the globe.
Finished. Hey, next time ask me. I would have been happy to help.
What do you want?
He was untouchable. or so it seemed. But when the scandal broke, everything changed. One night, he was America's dad. The next, he was the face of a media storm, one that silenced his legacy in an instant. Cosby was accused of horrific crimes, and with that, Hollywood turned its back. Networks dropped him, syndication deals vanished. Even his beloved show, The Cosby Show, was pulled from the airwaves like he was a criminal. One scandal, one lie, and Bill Cosby's entire career was erased. A man who spent decades uplifting black culture, fighting for equality, and setting a standard for black excellence, gone. Hollywood didn't just abandon him, they buried him. The speed with which they erased him from history. Unbelievable, Bill Cosby's erasure was swift, cruel, and unjust. But Jussie Smollett's erasure, it was a warning to anyone daring to cross Hollywood's dangerous line. Jussie Smollett, the modern-day warning. Jussie Smollett had it all. Rising star on Empire, fame, fortune, and a loyal fan base. But one fateful night in 2019, everything changed. A hoax, a scandal. And suddenly, the world turned its back on him. His career destroyed. Just like that, Jussie Smollett's career was ripped apart. Not just by the media, but by the very industry that once praised him. Shows canceled, agents cut ties, even his friends disappeared, all over a single accusation. And Hollywood did what they do best. They erased him from the narrative. Jussie Smollett is a warning, a tragic reminder of what happens when you mess with Hollywood's carefully crafted image. They will erase you, no matter your talent, no matter your history. One mistake, and you become a ghost. Jussie Smollett's downfall was engineered by a single controversy. But when it comes to Monique, Hollywood's erasure was about much more than just a single moment. She's the powerhouse who took home an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in 2009 for her role in Precious. But instead of celebrating her triumph, the industry shut her out. They erased her like she never existed. Monique spoke out about pay inequality. She demanded respect. And Hollywood? Well, they don't take too kindly to that. They shut her out. Netflix refused to give her a deal. Streaming services blacklisted her specials. And don't get me started on how they tried to bury her. Her Oscar? It didn't mean a damn thing when she stood up for what was right. Hollywood punished Monique for her voice. They erased her to make an example. But let's make one thing clear. Monique is a legend. And her story, her fight, her bravery, it cannot and will not be forgotten. But in the case of Chadwick Boseman, the final actor in our list today, it wasn't about disrespect. It was about what they did to him after he gave his all. Chadwick Boseman, a name that's now synonymous with heroism, talent, and legacy. He was the heart of Black Panther, one of the most groundbreaking films in cinematic history. But the way they treated him, that's the real story Hollywood tried to bury. As the world cheered for him, Hollywood turned its back. During his final years, as he battled cancer in silence, the industry went radio silent. Promotions were delayed, trailers were put on hold, posters were hidden. They tried to keep his story from the world. But in the end, Chadwick Boseman became something even bigger than Hollywood could ever control. His legacy as T'Challa, the King of Wakanda, transcended every obstacle they threw at him. Chadwick's spirit can never be erased. It's immortalized in Black Panther. And more importantly, it lives on in every single black child who looks up to him as a hero. These 10 legends were erased, silenced, and forgotten. But their stories are far from over. Their legacies live on in the hearts of those who remember, in the movements they inspired, and in the truth that refuses to die. Hollywood might try to bury the past, but I am here to expose it. Every voice, every story, every legend matters, and it's time we finally gave them their due. Before you go, hit that like button right now if you believe these legends deserve their place in history. The more likes we get, the more people will see the truth we're uncovering. Don't miss out on future stories like this. Smash that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a truth bomb from the honest American. I try to expose the hidden history of Hollywood, one legend at a time. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Remember, the truth belongs to those who unearth it. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep supporting the voices that Hollywood tried to erase.